Hey you guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be making a lap zipper. First thing you need to do is lay your zipper down where your seam allowance is going to be and mark a 1/2 inch above the stopper. Once you mark it, go ahead and grab a couple pins and you could pin your fabric in place. Your pins should be going through and through so that you are holding your fabric together. From this point you are going to be stitching. Regular stitching at the bottom and basting stitch at the top. Be sure to back stitch to where your notch is before you switch over to your basting stitch. While the needle is sunk into the fabric, I went ahead and adjusted the length of the stitch. For basting stitch, it should be at 5 millimeters. So once you adjust it to that, and you've already completed your back stitching, then you can continue on and sewing the rest of the zipper length. Should look a little something like this. Now you're gonna open up your seam allowance, lay it flat, and take your zipper and lay it on top. Make sure that your zipper length is lined up to your basting stitch and your stopper is lining up to the 1/2 inch beyond where your original notch was. Now you're going to pin one side of the zipper down through and through. So your pin should be going through the seam allowance, through the zipper, as well as the front of the fabric. The reason that we're doing that is so that we can sew the other side that is not pinned down. And it's also keeping the zipper teeth in alignment to your original stitch that you created. Once you have it lined up, go ahead and switch your presser foot to a regular zipper foot. The zipper foot I bought from Amazon. I don't remember where exactly on the site that I bought it, but if you look for an invisible zipper foot, you should be able to find one on the site. Once you've attached it, go ahead and sew all the way through. I did leave this portion as a regular basting stitch only because we're going to sew over it again, so it's okay if you switched it over to a regular stitch or if you leave it as a basting stitch, as long as it's sewn down. Now that that's complete, as you can see, there isn't any back stitching that was completed towards the end or towards the top. You're going to flip the material over, take all of your pins out, and you're going to expose the zipper completely. So in order for you to expose the zipper, you're going to have to fold all of the material over to one side. And with your hand, you can hand press it just so that you have a nice smooth seam on the side of the zipper. And with regular stitching this time, you are going to stitch right along that edge. You can consider that almost like an edge stitch because you're not going to leave much left over. Just sew right across that, no back stitching needed. By adding this additional stitch, it will pull your center seam over so that it's not exactly on the zipper teeth, and it will shift it that way the zipper teeth is tucked in. Open up your seam allowance back so that it's covering your zipper and use some pins to pin open that fabric just so that everything is covered, it's right in its proper placement, and you are going to top stitch right on top of that. It's easier for you to start at the bottom where the zipper stopper is, and from there you could do that L shape all the way around, but it's up to you if you want to start at the top of the zipper. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Just make sure that you back stitch where the bottom of the zipper is, where the stopper is, because otherwise it will come apart. So I went ahead and I started at the bottom Make sure that you go beyond your zipper stopper, otherwise if you go over it, there's a possibility that you can break your needle. Always make sure you sink your needle before you pivot and you turn towards going the length, when you go towards the length of the actual zipper foot. When you are done sewing, you will use your seam ripper, or if you are handy with the scissors, you can use a pair of scissors to rip open that seam. And then from there, you are done. All that's left to do is to open up the material using a pair of scissors, or you can use your seam ripper. You can clip open the basting stitch that we made originally, like the very first stitch that we did. You're going to use your scissors or your seam ripper to open it. Just be very careful when you are using your scissors, because sometimes you can cut into the fabric. I've done that several times. So just be careful so that you don't do that. It's easier if you just use a pair of seam ripper, because it's a little bit easier to get right underneath the stitching for you to pull it open. But that is it. You are done. Pull out any little pieces of thread that's in the way, clean it up. You can iron it down just so that it lays nice and flat, but besides that, that is it, folks. That is it for today. Thank you for watching the video. If you have not subscribed, do subscribe to the channel. Like, comment, drop a comment down below if you have any questions. I'll be sure to get back to you. And that is it. I will see you next time. Thank you again for watching.